Hello and welcome to the Stevie P channel for another team review on Rugby 22. Today we are going to be looking at the Stormers, who are the worst ranked side in the game on in the URC, which, given the fact that they're now the highest ranked South African side, will probably frustrate quite a lot of Stormers supporters. But yeah, I think that this was very much done based on a lot of what we saw last year, and if you're going to be very brutally honest, Stormers not playing to their full sort of capacity this season, this year rather, they've started to sort of kick in. And I think actually we're going to go through the squad, but I think this is one of the better ranked squads, not necessarily in terms of them all being underranked, but in terms of which players are ranked higher than the rest. Now, obviously, there will be a couple that I won't agree with, stuff like that, but generally, I think this is one of the better ones because in the previous two, with the, we looked at the Lions and we looked at the Bulls, for example. They just didn't make sense, and I just couldn't really sort of understand what the thinking was behind some of these ratings. But I look at here and I think it's a little bit more balanced. I think they're all quite low, but I think it's a little bit more balanced in terms of the ratings compared to each other. So without any further ado, let's go have a look, and then I want to know what you guys think of the ratings down in the comments below. So here we are. Now, first of all, the team itself is ranked at 70. Now, that is the lowest URC ranking in the game. So that'll be a bit frustrating for Stormers fans to have that sort of such a low ranking. But if we're looking at some of the players itself, now first of all, Brock Harris has made the move back to the Stormers. Now, one thing I will say, I think there's still got Edwin van der Merwe in the squad, so that needs to be updated. And the frustrating thing is that there have been updates. So, like in FIFA, for example, you can update your squads. There should be an option to update your squads and be able to move Edwin van der Merwe from the Stormers to the Lions and stuff like that, because there will be players moving around. Now, if we're looking up front now, yeah, you got Brock Harris, who's rated 77. Scarra Ntebeni 73. Scarra Ntebeni is internationally capped. But so there we go. Then you got Neil Livershire sitting there at 72. So immediately I'm sitting there thinking, well, I think Scarra Ntebeni is a little bit low. You got Ernst van Rijn though ranked around Neil Livershire. Sal Murat has been stated for a box squad, but hasn't quite made 73. Namaklaba, I really rate him, so I think 73 is quite fair. Evan Roos has obviously had a stormy start to the season, but he is still quite young. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that it's better. I think it's a bit more aligned. I don't think there's a massive jump between Neil Bashir and Namaklaba. I don't think that. I think Willie Engelbrecht's a very good player, but these players probably are better and are ranked higher. Evan Roos probably a little bit underranked. Stefan Angura, coming from the Greek, was never going to have a particularly high rating. Mani Liebok, somebody who hasn't been in particularly good form of late, so I think 68. Edel van der Merwe, young player, probably should be rated a bit higher. But I also think Ricky Pretorius and Dan du Plessis, for example, haven't really hit the ground running, and maybe don't deserve to be ranked that high. So I think if you're looking at sort of the players, as I say, I think generally all the ratings are quite low. But Asolo Pearson for me probably should be ranked probably the lowest in the out of these sort of players. I think that everyone now is obviously better than Serge Pearson. I would have probably gone with Ruan now at a 71. He's been part of a box squad. He's been around for a long time. I think this is probably the glaringly bad mistake in the squad. Warwick Galant is a World Cup winner. Have we all forgotten this? He is a World Cup winner. So I think that for me is probably the big standout error. I'd have him higher, but then you look. And then again, I think that generally what we've seen in this game is that young props are ranked too high. Sally Sunday, for example, getting a 74, which is higher than an Italy Bashir, based on what? Andre Hugo Fenta is 20 years old. He's played about 5 international matches. Based on what is he 73? The same as Scarra Ntebeni. He's been part of a Springbok squad. RJ Smith at 73, Moss Tennyson at 73, Quenzo Bloss at 72, Paul de Vet 78, Tim Sweel 68, probably a little bit low. Danny WC at 67. I think JJ Kortzer to be at 72 is pretty generous. Jean de Jong is one of the higher ranked players, which makes sense. Part of the Premiership stuff like that. So yeah, I think that generally, Dion Fourie at 69 is probably far too low. But they do. But the one thing I will say is I think there are very few, maybe sort of 3-4 examples where I'm sitting there saying, how is he lower than he? In terms of like glaringly big mistakes. I think Evan Roos is probably too low. I think Ronald's a bit too low. But I think overall, compared to some of the other squads, I think this is probably a little bit better in terms of who I think are better players in terms of and who have higher ratings. But generally, I think that overall, it's very low. It is a very low rating for all the Stormers players, who are at the moment currently sitting in 7th in the URC. So it's interesting. These player ratings have been interesting to sort of see exactly how, a Northern Hemisphere development company view our players, and I'd love to understand a bit more of how they've made these ratings, how much of it is based on stats, how much is based on what they've done in the past, how much is based on them at their peak, where they are, their age, potential, etc., etc. I think that FIFA is a much more exact sort of science, and people will argue about certain aspects, but probably more aligned to where they are compared to Rugby 22. I mean, the Stormers currently sitting 7th. They don't have a single player ranked in the 80s. Now, is that fair? I mean, I think Warwick Lunt should be ranked in the 80s. He's currently probably been one of the best players in the URC this season, and not even just in South Africa, in the entire competition. So I don't know. I think that generally all the ratings are low, but I do think that they've generally managed to pick the better players and have given them good ratings. Obviously, Evan Lewis, Warwick Lunt, the big glaring mistakes, in my opinion, but yeah, this probably was all done based on sort of the end of last year, or probably even before that, probably sort of looking at September, October, where Warwick Lunt had been injured for that time. But let me know, do you think that this is fair? As a Stormers fan, do you think that these are spot on? Do you think they're very wrong? Which ratings don't you agree with? Let me know down in the comments below. Please do smash like on the video as well. And please do subscribe to the channel on the road to 200 subscribers on the Stevie channel. I'll see you guys all very soon.